Nobody wants President Newsom either. Nobody believes in that guy. That guy's a con man. Everything he did in California, from trying to mandate vaccines for kids to being caught public without a mask and lying about the fact that he was outdoors.
Yeah.
Nobody believes in that guy. He's just a politician, just a stone cold, narrative driven politician. Nobody thinks he's a real human. Whether you like Trump or not, whether you think he's corrupt or not, that's a human being. You know what that guy is. Same thing with RFK Jr. Whether you believe that he's correct about vaccines or whether you believe his policies would be effective, you know that's a human being. With Newsom, you got like this construct, this cardboard cutout of a person.
Gavin Newsom, if you're listening to this, you're a failure. Mayors are actually some of the most powerful people in the country. The police are responsive to the mayor. The building code's responsible to the mayor. The homeless, mayors are very, very powerful. So he was mayor of San Francisco. Would you let your son walk the streets of San Francisco unaccompanied at 1 a.m.? No, you wouldn't. I'm sorry. Your son can't walk the streets of the city that you were in.
What if one of America's most powerful and polished political figures, a man who looks like he was designed in a laboratory to be president, is nothing more than an elaborate and empty illusion? It's a terrifying question that cuts to the very heart of modern politics, where image often matters more than reality. And when Joe Rogan, the king of unfiltered conversation, looked into his camera and bluntly labeled California Governor Gavin Newsom a stone-cold con man, it wasn't just another soundbite. It was the pulling of a thread that threatens to unravel the entire carefully woven tapestry of Newsom's career. Rogan, the everyman philosopher with a global audience, and Charlie Kirk, the sharp-tongued political commentator with a flamethrower for a mouth, may seem like an unlikely pair. But when their uniquely brutal styles of commentary collided, they did something far more devastating than just critique a governor. They took a sledgehammer to the gleaming facade of Gavin Newsom, and the resulting demolition was so thorough, so absolute. It was the kind of political dumpster fire you can see from space.
You see the governor talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down. And he did this little dance. Show it to him, Jamie.
You had some ideas around some land use concerns around speculators coming in, buying up properties. Mm-hmm. We're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward.
With a big smile on his face.
Spark. You guys are posting these cringe videos on social media.
What are the videos? What are the ones that
I don't know, this
cringy?
like harmonious thing of like 22 senators all saying the same thing.
Didn't like that, yeah.
I didn't like it. Go ahead, go do more of that.
What do you do?
Please.
What do you do? Seriously, Charlie Kirk, give us some.
Joe Rogan didn't just circle the issue. He went straight for the jugular. For him, the problem with Newsom isn't merely about policy disagreements. It's about a fundamental, almost disturbing lack of humanity. He flatly stated that nobody actually believes in the guy, calling him a cardboard cutout of a person. Rogan drew a razor-sharp contrast that everyone can instinctively understand whether you love or despise figures like Donald Trump or RFK Jr. You know you're dealing with real, flawed, and tangible human beings. Their humanity, for better or worse, is on full display. But with Newsom, Rogan argues, you get a synthetic construct. You get a man whose every word, every practiced smile, and every cringeworthy social media video feels like it was focus grouped and approved by a committee of PR consultants. He's the political equivalent of a deep fake so polished he doesn't seem real. And according to a Newsweek article, the public is catching on. Newsom's favorability and authenticity numbers have cratered since he launched his own podcast, a transparently desperate attempt to seem relatable that has only backfired, exposing him as the very thing Rogan described, a hollow, narrative-driven politician who is more of a brand than a leader.
I will say, if you look at Gavin Newsom's numbers, there's a Newsweek article, though. His numbers are down dramatically as far as favorability, trust, authenticity since he started this podcast. It's not going very well for him of how people view him. So for that, I will say that I think we have done a good job of exposing him for being the synthetic. Governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate.
But would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that.
Why is it you were able to clean it up for Xi Jinping, but you can't clean it up?
That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. By the way, you guys weaponized that. I saw that on 25 things. It was almost ridiculous. That was, you know what? I will happily revert back to your
Can I have the streets as clean as Xi Jinping?
In this case, weaponized. Weaponized.
But to truly understand the California of today, you have to dig into the political graveyard of San Francisco's past. Newsom's time as mayor isn't just a footnote on his resume, it's the disaster blueprint for his statewide governance. Rogan posed a simple yet profoundly damning question that hangs over Newsom's entire career. Would you let your son walk the streets of San Francisco unaccompanied at 1 a.m.? The immediate visceral answer for any sane person is a hard no. And that says everything. Mayors are some of the most powerful people in the country. They command the police force, they dictate building codes, and they are on the front lines of the homelessness crisis. Newsom had that power, and under his watch, the city he was responsible for began its infamous doom loop, a downward spiral of crime, decay, and despair. It was the laboratory where his failed policies were first tested, and the results were catastrophic. This wasn't a one-off failure. It was the origin story of the chaos that would later infect the entire state.
Gavin Newsom talks about California. He's like, I'm very big on California, very bullish on California. Hey, they're all moving. The only reason why they don't move is because it's too difficult to move. It's too expensive to leave versus all the bullshit with all the permits and all that. It's too expensive.
Gavin Newsom, if you're listening to this, you're a failure. Mayors are actually some of the most powerful people in the country. The police are responsive to the mayor. The building codes are responsible to the mayor. The homeless, mayors are very, very powerful. So he was mayor of San Francisco. Would you let your son walk the streets of San Francisco unaccompanied at 1 a.m.? No, you wouldn't. I'm sorry. Your son can't walk the streets of the city that you were in.
Perhaps nothing defines Gavin Newsom's tenure more than his staggering, almost cartoonish hypocrisy. He became the walking, talking poster child for the rules for thee but not for me mentality of the political elite. The most infamous example forever etched in the public's memory was the French laundry affair. At the very moment he had locked down his entire state, when children were banned from playgrounds and small business owners were watching their life's work crumble into dust, Gavin Newsom was photographed at one of the world's most exclusive and expensive restaurants. The scene was almost a parody of elite disconnection, sitting indoors, maskless, huddled with a powerful group of lobbyists. His initial excuse was a pathetic and easily disproven lie, that he was outdoors. The photos told a different story. It was a vicious slap in the face to every single Californian who had sacrificed, who had followed his draconian rules in good faith. It was a perfect, crystal-clear snapshot of a man who genuinely believes he is above the very laws he so eagerly imposes on everyone else.
Did you see what's going on? Obviously, you've seen what's going on in California. But the governor gave this creepy fucking speech where he was talking about speculators coming in and talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down. While it's still only 6% contained. And he did this little dance like, I've been talking with these, with the governor of Hawaii about what to do. We got some ideas. A speculator. We're gonna have some meetings. Like, he's doing
really?
This. Oh, show it to him, Jamie. It's so creepy because it's happening while these people are. Their houses have been burned. All their childhood memorabilia, all the stuff for their kids, the photos, the fucking everything they have is gone. All heirlooms, their mother's wedding ring, that kind of shit. Everything's burnt to the ground. And this guy's like standing in front of all this stuff, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's talking about land use.
This breathtaking hypocrisy bleeds into every corner of his governance, most notably his signature issue, climate change. Newsom preaches about saving the planet with the righteous fury of a street corner evangelist, all while racking up more air miles on his private jet than a rock star on a world tour. It is a flying jet-fueled billboard for climate hypocrisy. He stands at podiums, lecturing average citizens about their carbon footprint, scolding them for driving the gas-powered cars he is desperately trying to ban, and waging a war on appliances like gas stoves. All the while, he himself lives a lifestyle that constitutes a full-blown environmental crime scene. Joe Rogan could only watch in sheer disbelief, like watching someone brag about their coordination right after spilling coffee all over themselves. To Rogan, and to anyone with an ounce of common sense, the contradiction wasn't just glaring, it was deeply and profoundly insulting. You cannot claim to be leading a green revolution when your own actions scream that you don't believe a single word you're saying.
Base as exhibited as how they're acting in the streets and how they're acting in Congress is not moderating on these issues. In fact, I think this podcast might be ending Gavin Newsom's presidential ambitions, not preparing him for his presidential ambition. And so the final point I'll make is this, is that it wasn't just about Gavin, it was also about the tens of millions of people that were able to get their eyes open and say like, yeah, why didn't Gavin go stronger on the trans sports issue? Or why didn't he do this? And now Gavin Newsom, I could say this, you're seeing this all across the board. He is under non-stop siege, and he's handling it.
And the consequences of this failed leadership are no longer abstract or theoretical. They are real, tangible, and devastating. Charlie Kirk painted a grim, vivid picture of the great California exodus. He described a U-Haul parade of residents and businesses lining up at the state border, fleeing as if escaping a natural disaster, and in a very real way, they are escaping a man-made disaster. People aren't leaving because the weather turned bad. They're leaving because the leadership did. They're fleeing from some of the highest taxes in the nation that punish success and stifle innovation. They're fleeing from crime waves that have turned once beautiful city streets into no-go zones. They are fleeing a state government that seems actively hostile to its own citizens. The California dream, once a shining beacon for the entire world, is dead. And Gavin Newsom is the one holding the shovel. Yet he still stands in front of cameras, flashing that picture-perfect grin, and has the audacity to say he's bullish on California while his own people pack up and leave in record numbers.
When I went there, I had a great relationship with President Xi. We got along very well. And they treated me better than anybody has ever been treated. And I said, this air is good. Do you know they closed every factory 1 week before I got there from within 200 miles?
That's like what Gavin Newsom did when Xi Jinping came to San Francisco.
He cleaned it up.
He cleaned it up. He got rid of all
Isn't
the homeless
that terrible
people.
in a way to think, he cleaned it up and then it became a pigsty.
Well, the dumbest thing is he said when your friends come by, when you have visitors, you clean up your house. Like, how about just keep your fucking house clean?
Can you imagine?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard anybody say ever as a governor as to excuse to why you finally cleaned up your homeless problem.
And the day he left,
right back to it.
It went right back.
Time someone sits down with him, ask him an update. Hey, Governor Newsom, you said with Charlie Kirk that you think it's not fair. You have yet to do anything about it, sign an executive order, talk publicly about it, because a young man named A.B. Hernandez is about to win the long jump championship in California as a biological man. Why haven't you done something about it? Or are you just doing this podcast for clicks to try to make yourself seem more moderate? If Republican guest after Republican guest goes with that kind of attitude, be polite and firm, and hold him to the standard that he is setting on his own show, that will even collapse his political.
If you need one single story to understand the mind of Gavin Newsom, one event that perfectly exposes his character and his priorities, it's the great Xi Jinping cleanup. Charlie Kirk was practically vibrating with fury as he described how Newsom governs as if he's playing SimCity while blindfolded, completely detached from the suffering on his own streets. But when it was announced that Chinese President Xi Jinping was scheduled to visit San Francisco, a true miracle occurred. The city's rampant homelessness, its open-air drug markets, its sidewalks littered with human filth, it all vanished, almost overnight. Newsom ordered a massive state-sponsored cleanup. His public excuse for this sudden action was, without exaggeration, one of the dumbest things a governor has ever said out loud. When your friends come by, you clean up your house. Rogan's response was perfect in its simplicity. How about just keep your DMN house clean? The incident was a damning confession. It proved beyond any doubt that the state had the resources and the ability to solve the problem all along. They just lacked the political will to do it for their own tax-paying citizens. The moment Xi's plane left, the tense and the misery reportedly returned. It was the ultimate display of his priorities. Managing perception for a communist dictator was more important than providing basic safety for the people he swore an oath to serve.
State is just so poorly managed. It's so frustrating and confusing. And then he gets on TV and pretends like everything's great. Mm-hmm. And California's the best. We have the best state. We have the most amazing economy. And like, you're out of your mind, dude. You've ruined this state. Like, personally ruined it.
But no, look, just one of the things we saw in the last couple of years that the Democrats completely ignored, and your side was basically not acknowledging it was happening, was the crisis that young people were experiencing.
Right.
That, I mean, it's the first time in America's history that a 30-year-old is going to have it worse off than their parents.
Right.
It's a breakdown of the social compact.
Right.
They are the most alcohol addicted, most drug addicted, most suicidal, most depressed, most medicated generation in history.
This pathological obsession with optics defines his entire approach to governing. He is, as Kirk implies, a disaster influencer, a man who runs to a camera, not to a crisis. He holds a polished press conference for every problem, but offers no real solutions. Rogan highlighted a particularly disturbing clip of Newsom speaking about the tragic Maui fires, with a bizarre, unsettling smile on his face. Newsom began talking about land use concerns and speculators. While people's homes were still smoldering, their entire lives reduced to ash. He was doing a little dance, as Rogan put it, already seeing political opportunity in their unimaginable suffering. It revealed a chilling, almost sociopathic disconnect from human emotion. The mind of a man so consumed by politics that he sees a tragedy not as a moment for compassion, but as a moment for a press release. It's all style, no substance. A performance of leadership with no actual leading.
And do you see what Gavin Newsom said to him?
No.
Pull that post up, Jamie. Gavin Newsom said that you shouldn't be posting this. That we're going to make it illegal, and I'm going to sign a law. And he said, "Professor, suck on these nuts."
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. Yes,
Elon
he did.
said that to Gavin Newsom?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I checked with renowned world authority, Professor Sug on these nuts, and he said parody is legal in America.
So
Nobody wants President Newsom either. Nobody believes in that guy. The guy's a con man. I mean, everything he did in California, from trying to mandate vaccines for kids, when it was totally unnecessary, to being caught out in public without a mask and lying about the fact that he was outdoors.
yeah.
All of it.
And here is the absolute peak of the absurdity. The punchline to the grim joke that is his governorship. Despite this mountain of failure, despite the hypocrisy, the exodus, and the obsession with PR, Gavin Newsom genuinely believes he should be president of the United States. The audacity is simply breathtaking. Charlie Kirk sarcastically begged the Democratic National Committee to nominate him, promising to just sit back with a large bag of popcorn and watch him try to defend the California record on a national debate stage. Imagine it, Newsom explaining to the rest of America why they need California's model, while the debate moderators flash images of homeless encampments in Los Angeles and charts showing the mass exodus of businesses. He wants to export the California model, a model so successful that it's turned the Golden State into a national cautionary tale. His entire resume isn't a list of accomplishments, it's a warning label. In the end, it all comes back to a single perfect and inescapable metaphor: the hair. Charlie Kirk couldn't resist going after Gavin's perfectly sculpted, immovable helmet of hair. A style so precise it looks like a Greco-Roman statue had a love child with a bottle of industrial-strength mousse. It is the ultimate symbol of his leadership. All style, zero substance. The man has more volume in his hair than in his policies. It's a flawless, impenetrable presentation designed to distract from the crumbling foundation underneath. He is the Broadway headliner of bureaucratic nothingness, a mannequin with a Wi-Fi connection, as one might say. Joe Rogan's raw disbelief and Charlie Kirk's surgical sarcasm, coming from two completely different worlds, arrived at the same brutal conclusion. Gavin Newsom's leadership isn't just flawed, it's a performance. It's a one-man show where the scenery is staged, the problems are scripted, and the audience is purposefully kept in the dark. As his carefully constructed myth is stripped bare, you're left to wonder, in an age of politicians who perform instead of govern, is this kind of raw, unfiltered takedown the only thing that can force us all to finally see the truth?